Marhaba. You're listening to Real Voices with Miss Alissar. That's me. I'm Alissar Nasser, and today we will be talking about grief. My guest today is super precious to my heart. His name is Tony Sarkis. He is alumnus from Al-Mawakib Al-Garhoud, class of 2008. And currently, Tony is a senior account manager at Twitter. Marhaba, Tony.
Marhaba.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
When I called you to tell you I want you to come engage in a conversation with me about grief, your answer was, I have so much to say. Remember?
Yep.
And you and I have suffered or have had to live through a loss of someone we love.
Yes.
You lost someone, you're going to tell us who and when, and then I'm going to talk about who I lost, and then we're going to talk about how you and I dealt with our grief. And I want everyone to understand that this is totally opinion-based and personal-based.
Yeah.
We're not doing scientific studies here. We're not preaching. We're not advising. We're just sharing.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about who you lost and when.
So 5 years ago, I lost my mom to cancer after she battled it very courageously for 2 years. It's been almost, as I said, 5 years. And, it's been a journey. So, going through such adversity, it's kind of phases. You pass through phases from, when it happens, to accepting the reality, to facing reality, to living with this reality. So, yeah, it's been quite a journey. And I think the most interesting thing about it is that you develop your ways of
coping mechanisms.
Of coping.
How old were you when you lost her?
I was 27. I'm
27.
32 right
And you
now.
have a younger brother?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
How old was he?
He was around 24. We were 3 years apart.
So, but she had cancer before she passed away.
Yeah.
So you had been dealing with the possibility of that happening for 7 to 8 years. So
yeah. So basically, yeah, exactly. So she fought cancer for 2 years. We found out it was late because, as you know, such sicknesses don't usually give alarms.
Yeah.
That's why they call it in Arabic marad al-khabith.
صح.
So, it was 2 years of ups and downs, 2 years where your mood and your day is based on how your mom is doing and how she's feeling. We saw the good and the bad. We saw how courageous and how such of a strong woman she is, where she was stronger than us at times. And she was actually making us stronger rather than us trying to be there and make her stronger. Whether it was her faith, her attitude, the way she looked at life, she was always smiling. And this is the last image I remember of her. So it's always also important to link to these positive moments. And this is how
and magnify those
exactly.
instead of focus on the sad. Now, I know your mom because your mom is also a Mawakib alumnus.
Yes.
Let's stop calling her just your mom and give her a name. Her name is Rita.
Yeah.
Rita Tarsha, who's also precious to me. So much so that I was in touch with her until the last moment on WhatsApp, and I have kept her WhatsApp on my phone. I could not delete it. For the life of me, I go back and look at it every once in a while. Yeah. She graduated only 1 year after me from Mawakib. And so for me, the loss of Rita was very boof, because, she was my age, and it was, and you guys were young.
Yeah,
you and Roni, and she was in her
49.
40s. Right? So how did you feel when it first happened, and then a little bit later?
Obviously, it's a shock. Like, once it happens, you always think that, I don't know what I would do if this happens to me, until it actually happens to you. I'll tell you something I think you can relate as well. You get a certain type of emotional and mental strength or power at that moment where you wouldn't expect you will be able to cope with such a situation at any other time. Obviously, it was a shock. I felt I had a duty towards my family to be strong, for them to lean on me, because these are one of the main things I learned from my mom, as a lot of people leaned on her and she was able to accommodate and help a lot. Again, the first couple of days is a shock. You're not understanding what's happening. It's as if nothing happened, but your mind is shook. Everything is not how you think it is. But then, by time, when things calm down, when you go back to your routine, this is where reality hits. And the way I saw it, or I dealt with that, is that I'm a huge believer in facing adversity and not running away from it. So some people might avoid talking about a certain situation or talking about death of a loved one. What I did from day one is I kept talking about Rita.
Oh, wow.
From day one.
Like, what would you say? Like,
For
you talked
example,
about what?
So I'll just give you an example. During the funeral and all, I went up and I said a speech where everyone told me, "Are you sure you are able to do that?" I was like, that's the reality, and we need to be strong, and we need to face it, and we need to talk about it. I came back to Dubai from Lebanon. The first day I was at the office, my manager told me, "What are you doing here?" I was like, me being at home won't change reality. Life goes on. Now, I'm not saying that...
Not everyone can deal with it this way, clearly. So again...
you need to... I thought that I needed to develop that mental strength, because no one's benefiting if I'm just...
Okay, this... I like your persona of Tony, the one who was dealing with it in this mature, strong-minded way. But Tony, when he went home...
Yeah. I had my moments, of course.
So when you went home, how was it? Anna, for me, when I lost my dad, and everyone knows who my father is, right? And Rita actually was one of his favorite students. Yeah. So, okay, sure. In public, it was, you're strong. You have to be strong. I had to be, especially around my mom, a little bit tougher, whatever. But when I went home, when I was alone with my thoughts, and when you're alone with your thoughts, even if there's someone there, you're still alone with your thoughts. So, my husband was there, my kids were there, but I was alone in my thoughts. Yeah. That's when it used to hit me.
You feel emptiness.
And you miss. And for me, with my father, I miss talking to him. You understand? I've kept the memories alive and all of this. And like you, I talk, but it took me a while. Like, I remember it took me a while before I could remember him and smile. For a while, I could not smile.
I know what you mean.
I could remember him, but it was very difficult to smile. Now I'm at a place where I can remember him and smile. And so there's the persona versus the real you. And actually now I look at it differently. I don't know how you deal with it, but I find that I didn't want to be censored in my feelings just to show everyone I'm strong. I don't want to go through it again, but if I had to deal with this again, I want to be allowed to feel whatever I want to feel without being told, be strong, don't cry. I don't know what, all the advice you get when you lose someone you love. And for me, it's, I don't want to. I want to cry.
Yeah.
Let me cry. If you are not comfortable being around me when I'm crying, please walk away.
Yeah.
Leave me. But don't ask me to suppress how I feel.
Yeah.
So, did you separate all those two personas of Tony alone with his thoughts and Tony? Yeah.
So obviously, who you are around people is a bit different than who you are alone, especially when it's characters. Now, the reason I wanted to be strong is not only for people, was for me as well.
Yeah,
I did have my moments, of course, when I was alone. I did go through ups and downs, but I put it upon myself where I had to build that strength, because not only will it help me get over this, it would help me be next to my family as
Get
well.
through this.
Sorry, get through this.
Never
yeah.
get over
No,
it.
you will never get over it. You just adapt to the new
you
reality.
learn to live with it.
Yeah. This is the new reality.
Right.
But I mean, go over that phase of healing, if I may say. So, practically, I did this not only for the people around me, I also did it for me, because I knew this is how I'm going to make me feel stronger and go through that phase.
I agree with you totally. Because for me, I went to work right away also.
Yeah.
So we went to Lebanon, we did what we have to do, came back. And I didn't even succumb to the expectations of wearing black. I did not.
And
so for me, it was also, it was no way he would have wanted me to do that.
Exactly.
No way. My father would not want me to wear black and go be in school around students. So neither did my mom, by the way.
Yeah.
So, going back to work or living that reality, mazboot, you're reminding me now. It's not just for the people around you. It's for you, because you need to find ways to adapt, like you said, and move forward. Not get over it, but learn to live with this 100%. New reality.
You will never get over someone precious, as you said.
Yeah.
But you learn to live around the new reality. Of course, I was always, and I am always, a family person. So I used to value these times, me sitting with my father, my mom, and even on the weekends, I wasn't the type who used to go a lot. So you miss these stuff, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. And once you develop the strength of saying these words, it is what it is, and knowing how to adapt to reality, it helps you a lot. We're not saying that it's nice, but I think, unfortunately, we all have to go through this. And at the end, I think everyone creates that eternal bond in a way, whether it's with something materialistic or something emotional, or it's a memory. So when I remember my mom, it's always about the laughs and how she used to follow me to study, or all that, So you have to be that.
She was a very diligent mom. I remember in school. I remember.
She used to make the weekly visits.
Yep. She spent a lot of time in school, maybe more than when she was a student.
So, they used to get worried when she's not there every week.
It's like, where's Rita?
Yeah. Right. And whether it's emotional, obviously the love of your mom will never die. Whether it's, there are memories, I have a lot of memories with her with my friends. She used to be part of the group of my friends. My friends used to come, we used to all sit together. Or whether it's materialistic. So, for example, I have a rosary from her that she used to pray, and it's been on my neck for 5 years.
Sometimes it could be a chair they sit on.
Yeah.
That reminds you.
100%. So it's just, it goes. You will find your way. And I just want to say something. Everyone will deal with it in a different way.
Yeah.
Some people will be outspoken. Some people want to be alone. Some people will
take a trip.
Some people I got into riding my Harley after
Some
that.
Some people go to therapy also.
Exactly. So there is no right way.
Correct.
But I think the common reality is you have to face it.
Yeah.
And do not run away.
I think we need to also talk about what would they want us to do.
Exactly.
For me, one of the things that always made it more, you gotta get going with this, was, my dad would probably be actually angry with me if he thought that I let this become a crippling factor in my life. So it was also about thinking, what do they want? What would they want me to be okay with or not be okay with? And this is one of the things. So what would they want? And in my mind, my dad always, Baba can always, okay, ماشي الحال, move on, it's okay, you can do it. No, I don't want you down. You need to get up. There are a lot of people counting on you.
Yeah.
You need to do what you need to do. So that also factored into moving on. But it doesn't take away. Yesterday, call me flaky for this, but every once in a while I watch a Turkish show. And a year and almost 2 years later since we lost him, watching a scene where there is a passing of a parent or a death of a parent, and an adult son or daughter crying over them completely yanks emotions out of me. So I find myself, crying. I do. I cry. And I remember him.
Yeah.
And I remember even, like when I kissed him in the, when I was covering his face. And I remember these moments, and it yanks at your heart, but then you snap out of it.
Exactly.
And then you remember the other things. Like, I remember what he said to me when I got into Harvard, or I remember when he screamed at me when I did something, or, it's, you try to focus on those things. And
yeah, definitely. And I can relate. And these are the small things that...
Triggers.
These are just triggers. But don't you feel they're blessings?
Yeah, I do.
I'll tell you a funny story, actually. So there was a job that I was seeking into entering for a while now. And I used to tell my mom, "Khalas, I want to get this job. It's not working. I keep applying, blah, 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 blah." She told me it'll come at the right time. Be patient.
Be patient.
On her first day of her funeral, I got a call from that company for an interview.
Wow.
Like literally, I'm not joking.
Wow.
And I told them where I was. They panicked, obviously, on the phone. And I interviewed when I came back directly, and they told me, like, we couldn't believe that you just came back from a funeral and you've prepared this. And so, like...
It was as if she sent you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then after that, like, whether the people around me, whether the things that were happening around me, whether how things were facilitated as well, I always feel her blessings, and I know that she has something to do with it. So you start looking... I know it's not a positive thing, but you start looking at... She is around you in different ways.
Yeah.
Not, you know what I mean? So
when my father passed away, I received a visit from someone that I cannot name right now, but she said something to me, because it was a long time. I don't remember that I dreamed about him since he passed, except maybe once, and it wasn't a very good dream. And she said to me, because she lost her mom to cancer also. And she was coming to tell me, Alissar, I said, how are you dreaming about her all the time? I'm so, why am I not dreaming about him? And you're dreaming about her all the time. Actually, it will come in different ways. She said sometimes, she remembered a time when she was walking in a different city, and it was as if birds were telling her her mom is present. And I was like, whoa. So you have to really look at every possible sign that they're around you, lifting you. And that made me definitely feel a little bit less... I was frustrated that he wasn't coming to me in my dreams. And I'm still a bit frustrated with that, because I want him to come to me in my dreams more. But so far, no. Does she come to you in your dreams?
Not as much as well. Huh? But I think because they're always with us. So we don't need to dream about them. So that's the way I think.
We're cheering each other up here.
It's... I think the bond never dies. And I'm sure the bond never dies. You realize that it's an inevitable thing. We will all pass through it, and we will all be part of such situations. But there's a blessing and a curse in humans and in their minds, is that they learn to adapt and forget the materialistic part of things. Obviously, we're not talking about the people. Like, I would say sometimes, like, I forget the feeling of being in a house with a full family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You miss these stuff, but you reach a point where you vaguely remember how this feels, and for you, the new reality is what it is today.
And you focus on that.
And you grow and you progress. And personally, what happened with my mom opened my eyes to a million other things in life.
Okay.
It opened my eyes to perspectives. It changed me as a character. It made me much stronger. It made me realize things in people which I didn't realize. Priorities versus no priorities. It was a trigger that just
changed a lot of things.
Changed a lot of things.
And you recognize them, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And for me, do you catch yourself? And this, people have told me, but I'm now noticing it in myself, which is, I often catch myself saying, "Baba kan يقول," My father used to say
a lot.
all the time. I didn't do that when he was alive.
A lot.
But now that he's gone, I find myself quoting him and repeating things. And you know how they tell you, parents, they're raising you without raising you sometimes because they're saying things and you're listening, but you don't necessarily, you don't absorb it all and apply it. And then now that he's gone, I catch myself, and even people around me catch me a lot saying, Baba can يقول, oh, Dad used to say, or even at work, like, Mr. Nasser used to say, and I like that because I thought I forgot, but it turns out I didn't. So I love it because that's one way of me
keeping him alive.
Yeah, and keeping his spirit alive. His, لأنه in the end, أنا for me, مواكب, is his spirit moving through us all, him and my mom. Do you catch yourself?
Oh, it just happened before I came here. I was talking with my colleagues and I told them, my mom used to do 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I'd say it very often. And I say it while smiling and laughing.
Yeah.
And most of these stories are funny or like about a certain opinion or so. Literally, just before I came to Adine, we were talking. And
it just happens.
My mom used to do that as well, kaza. Which is fine. خلاص, it became second nature.
Yeah. We want to talk to people about, we dealt with it. Anna, when my father first passed, it was, I was in stay away from me mode.
Yeah.
Which is okay. And people around you who know you should respect that.
Of course.
So my advice to people, if they go through this, is to be honest about what they want, who they want around them, who they don't. And don't censor, because it is your time to feel whatever you want to feel. And for people to understand that instead of you having to worry about managing their feelings.
Yeah.
After a few weeks, it was difficult to go to the office where he used to be. It was difficult to go to see my mom, and his chair is empty, the little things, which is, I guess, normal. And so tears were more common at that time. Eventually now it's my alone time is where my tears happen. No triggers except me and my thoughts. And like I said before, I've learned to smile when I remember him. And now I'm doing my best to remember every story I've had with him so that I can pass it on to my children, to people I work with, to friends, if the story benefits. I told a story yesterday that I'd like to repeat to you.
Yes, please.
I had a session with some parents to tell them my opinion about raising boys and girls. And I was talking about girls' self-worth and how important to have men in our lives who help us push that self-worth. I was teaching in Garhoud in grade 7 math, I think. And Muhyiddin, the janitor in Garhoud. So doesn't usually interrupt classes. I had applied to Harvard, but didn't hear back. And then he knocked on the door and he had an envelope with him. But then if you know the USA, then if it's a thin envelope, you didn't get in. Try somewhere else. If it's a fat envelope, then you got in because there's the dorm information, everything, courses, whatever. So I got a fat envelope. So I knew I was accepted at Harvard. Now, grade 7 was very close to his office in Garhoud. And at that time, he was still very active in being present in the schools. So this is 1991. All right? And I ran to his office. And I said, Baba, ibluni b'Harvard. What did he say? Niyelon. So in English, I said, Dad, Harvard accepted me. And his answer was, lucky them. And that for me was a turning point in determining my self-worth, because I suddenly went from Harvard gave me worth for who I am to, whoa, no, Alissar gives worth to Alissar.
Exactly.
And that was one story with my dad that now I realize was a turning point in self-worth and how important it is to. So these stories, and I say to all of you who are kids or parents, we forget to remember.
Mm-hmm.
We think we will. Like, I regret that I did not document or write or journal every little story that had an effect on me that way.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to remember them. So another piece of advice I would give is you will not remember. You will forget to remember. So keep a record of the memories you want to keep.
Yeah.
Even with your children. It's like, I forgot a lot of stories that happened with my kids, even though I always thought I'd remember them because they're funny. Of course I'll remember them. I don't.
You have a certain capacity.
Yep. So that's another thing I would recommend to people. And don't worry about people telling you don't cry. Why are you crying? Come on. And if you want to cry, cry. Feel whatever you want to feel. And know they are in a better place, of course.
Oh,
and that's a blessing. They are, the lucky ones, maybe. But, don't censor your feelings. And be what you want to be. And learn to proudly live with it. And focus on remembering.
And focus on yourself.
Yep.
Because once you're true to yourself, you will have the right people around you.
Agree.
If you're fake around yourself, you'll have fake people around you. And such adversity filters the people in your life.
Yep.
And it identifies who's real and who's not. Who's there for...
That happened with you, huh?
Yeah. And who's there for the long run and who's not. And what people think is the priority and who's not. So... And it's also a blessing because all these efforts are put towards people who really deserve it. So, yeah.
I'd say earned it also, not just deserved it.
Exactly.
And you end up surrounded by precious people, right?
100%.
Your dad, how is he?
He's good. He's actually visiting. He actually sends his regards. He told me.
He's a wonderful man.
Thank you.
I was at that wedding.
Yeah, I know.
I was at your parents' wedding.
Yeah.
So for me, and I was at the engagement, both.
Oh, okay.
So you are precious. You know that.
Thank you.
You've always been and you always will be. And your dad, how is he? Did he cope? Is he okay?
Again, everyone coped in his way. He's okay. We're living with the new reality. He's now living in Lebanon. He's been there for 2 years.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he moved back. That's why he's visiting now. He's staying with my uncle and his mother. He wanted to be around her now, now.
Of course.
We're all getting old. So
أنت بعدك صغير.
Respect him.
Proportionally speaking.
Come in proportion, yeah. So he's doing well.
Good.
I think, like, as I said, whether it was me, my brother, or my dad, we all went through these phases in different ways. We accepted reality in different ways, and again, it is what it is.
So how important is it? And for me, your mom was young. My dad was older.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say one is easier, one is harder, but I'd say they're two different situations. So for your father, he lost his companion at a very young age. For my mom, she lost her lifetime love, but what we decided to do as a family is whatever she wants, we are here.
Yeah, of course.
So you just dedicate whatever time you have left over from anything for the parent that did survive this, because you don't want them to fall into the sadness that can take you away when you lose a companion. So
definitely, and this actually made us closer to each other.
Yeah.
Even more. I was very close to my parents, and I still am. It made us closer to each other, and how, like they say it in Arabic, ما إلي غيره هلا.
Yeah.
So you put all the efforts there, and you do it happily, obviously, because the bond is already there. And it's you start navigating through life in a new way a new point of view, new perspective, and like finally, what I would say is that I would just reiterate what you said: be yourself. I would face any adversity I see, because especially after you go something like that, everything else doesn't make any
becomes easy.
Like, really,
come on,
never mind. I've been through worse, you know. So obviously the curse is bigger than the blessing, but try to find the blessings in every curse.
Lovely.
That's
Can I say something to you now?
Yeah.
So I know your mom very well.
Yeah.
Very well. She would be so proud of you.
Thank you.
So proud. لأنه you're sitting opposite to me and I am so proud. And you know how much I love you.
Me too.
And I think you are a blessing in my life. We've always kept in touch, and I know we always will.
Yeah, definitely.
And, you know, I love you.
I love you too.
Okay. Thank you all. This was Tony and Alissar having a conversation about two precious people in our lives whom we lost physically, but we still carry in our hearts. And the most beautiful part about this is these two people knew each other and loved each other. Yeah. So my father loved your mom loved my dad, and now it's me and you, Tony.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Always.
Thank you all very much for listening. This was Tony and Alissar on Miss Alissar's podcast, which is Real Voices. And Stephanie is crying on the side. It's okay. You can cry. I'm okay with that. Are you okay with that?
Okay.
Yeah, we are.
Sure.
And I can't wait to continue our conversations in my living room as always. And thank you for being with me.
Thank you for having me.